I recently became aware that I had not set boundaries, right? I had physical boundaries that I had set because of geographical location, right? That removed me, but I did not have energy boundaries. I did not have emotional boundaries. I did not have spiritual boundaries, um, conversational boundaries, like things I was not going to talk about. Um, People who were trying to give me input and guidance who I did not agree to let them have that type of presence or authority in my life. So I had to really look at those things and come out of those agreements with all of that stuff. And that was me loving myself so that way I can show up authentically and genuinely. I had to start facing things and becoming aware of what I liked, did not like when it comes to relationships or friendships, even just like, like food, finding out the type of things that I really do enjoy as opposed to just eating stuff that people cook for the sake of being nice, right? Learning to say no. And not worrying about if I've hurt somebody's feelings, and saying that I have the right to say no to something. I don't have to just do something because a certain person asks me, So it's like really standing true in the authenticity of who I am, the genuineness of is my response actually what I would like or want to do in that moment? Does it reflect who I really am based on who I know about myself? um you know and so really allowing that love to show up for myself, and having grace with myself, mercy with myself, patience with myself, forgiving myself for making those decisions that led to all of these choices that brought me to the habits and the characteristics that I now am working to undo, right? So that's what I mean by loving yourself enough to realize, hey, this is detrimental to me. This is not aligned with where I am right now, even if it's just for that season or the moment. Me agreeing to this is not authentic. I love myself enough to be and to have integrity, meaning like my no for this is no. Like my response for this is really no. Give the no, right? And love yourself enough to know that if they don't like it, you like it, right? That should be enough. And realizing that you are enough as is right now. And if that's a problem for someone, if it's not okay for someone, it will be okay for someone else. Your enough right now is okay for someone else, even if it's not the one that you want it to be okay with. And love yourself enough to grieve that, to mourn that, to let that go, so that way you have the space for what is for you, right? That's what I mean by love yourself
The
enough.
common theme to what he was just saying there was sacrifice, because when you said no, that took sacrifice. You something had to be lost in order for you to gain. Other
Mhm.
common theme with that love was action. You took action to make those to make that progress towards loving yourself, if you will. But what I was getting at though is that, I think a lot of people say, "Oh, I love this person." Well, I mean, I'm sure you love, some fast food chains as well, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're making a sacrifice, right?
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
love takes sacrifice.
Yeah, I remember we talked about that early on when we first met. You talked about that, about love takes sacrifice. That all of what I just said was not easy. It was not easy. And if you have people around you telling you that finding who you really are is going to be the greatest thing and the best thing, they are not lying, but what they're not doing is they're not telling you what you have to face. You have to face a lot of hard truths. And what I have found out in this journey, because I don't want to keep calling it a process, right? In this journey, what really hurts is the exposed lie that truth reveals. When the truth shows up, you start to feel the effect of all those lies that you've been living out of. And the effect of it is you have to now let go of what you have known for something that you don't even know, which is the truth. And you have to become acquainted with that. You have to grieve all of the work, all of the resources, all of the energy, the emotion, spiritual, whatever that you've poured into this lie, these lies for however many years. You might be facing stuff from family that have been passed on to you, thought processes, belief systems, things. And it's like, wait a minute, I don't agree. I can't be here. This is no longer working. Now you have to uncover and face all of that. You guys, you have to give yourself grace with that. That's not easy. When I say it's not easy, the decision to go through it is, but doing it is work.
Yeah. And I would line that up back to the 5 Gs, like goals in your game plan. What is your goals to accomplish? I'd also add, and I did, I've drawn this out later in my life and I've shared this with you, and I'm not going to share this on this podcast, but the ideal woman for me, I know why you're laughing too. But those are things that you need to slow your roll and just take your time of like, what is your goal for that, that partner in life? And that goes for women too. You need to write down like what is the goal that you're looking for that guy before you think about getting into a relationship and thinking about, oh, I can change that. No, you need to also set your boundaries. If they're not aligned with what you're looking for, then why are you compromising with yourself? You're not loving yourself if you're compromising the things that you're looking for.
That's so good. That,
You're not setting boundaries for yourself, you know?
yeah, I have this person very close to my heart, that's dealing with things right now. They're facing things. They're actively facing it. They have came into the awareness that there's some things that they need to face, and they're taking the steps to do that. And I told this person, I said, hey, I'm not going to go away because I made the commitment that I will be here to help you in this process that you're in. And I told them, I said, I will not compromise myself in your process, though. And for a lot of people, I think that's important for you to understand. You do not need to, nor should you have to, and you don't have to compromise who you are in someone else's journey. You can still be present and show up authentically you without compromising, even if that means not showing up. Your absence or your distance during a certain phase of what they're dealing with is still you showing up because you're giving them the space to go through it, right? You might be the hindrance that comes in because you might become the enabler or whatever the case may be. So, not compromising and giving that person the space and distance or even the silence, that's still being a part and still showing up. And a lot of times that goes back to what Mr. Captain Variable over here, Mr. Captain Awesome, right? Was talking about when it comes to sacrifice. I want to be a part and be there, right? I love myself enough to back up, to get out of the way and not compromise where all of the work that has been done this thus far to get to this point for the sake of trying to pull someone through that is already going through. They are already going through that process. Trust them to make it through and then reconvene when you can.
And I think a lot of people, when we hear the word compromise that has this negative connotation, I don't think we need to, look at it as a negative. Like sometimes compromising with yourself to grow into something better can also be good. Um, you know, soft, I call them soft relationships because, these are people that are not married and that's fine. I mean, that's their own business. But my thing is that when I hear people talking about like, hey, I wanted to go for a walk at 5 a.m., but my partner didn't want to go for a walk, making this self compromise of, that moment in time for your partner and doing something good. that's good to put your sleep aside to be there. Because chances are you probably didn't go to bed when you need to for your partner to wake up at 5 a.m. And you chose you chose that pillow, you chose your bed, that comfy blanket to just lay in and let your partner down. So I think a lot of times when we even talk about relationships, not only with ourselves, but with our significant other or that future person, you also need to learn that sometimes compromising with yourself is a good thing because it gets you out of your comfort zone and makes you a better person.
I agree. I agree. I so agree with that. And I will add to that this manage expectations, people. Like that communication, like you talked about anything that starts with a C is going to cost, right? Communications cost, right? But you need to manage the expectation too. I'm, I'm very big on communication. If someone has not said something to me and they have an expectation, I am very quick to tell them no because we didn't talk about it. There was no agreement. I was like, no, especially with I'm not as busy as I used to be, but I'm still busy, right? I'm not busy with non-important things. But the things that I focus on now are so much more dense and critical for the next step in life where I'm at in this journey that I cannot afford to have un unwarranted sporadicness, right? Unwarranted sporadicness and spontaneity. There's time for spontaneity and it serves its purpose. But when you're focused and you're structured, every structure should be built with some flexibility. But you shouldn't be out here doing splits every day, right? You know what I'm saying? So it's like you have to manage the expectation too. If you're expecting your spouse to get up every day at 5 a.m. and that hasn't been agreed upon, maybe you need to have a conversation about, hey, this is what I would like, what is possible. And I can kind of hear the little people having a thought to say, well, are you in a relationship? Look, take that for a grain of salt, right? I'm not in a relationship outside of the relationships I have with my friendships and the relationship I have with God. Okay. That might not be enough to you, but if the information is useful to you and as you find benefit to it and you choose not to use it, that's on you. But if you're going to have that conversation and you want to manage the expectations between you and your partner, not just in a romantic sense, but even in the relationship, in the business, you have to manage those expectations. And that's another way of loving yourself, setting those boundaries and putting things in place so that you don't have to be in a position to compromise, right? And vice versa.
Yeah. And my thing too is that I feel like a lot of times these relationships unfortunately get stale. It seems like the 5 year mark or 8 year mark, whatever it is, it's what is it called? Comfort, right?
Mhm, mhm, mhm,
Root of
mhm.
all evil is this comfort. We get comfortable with our partner and we don't grow with them anymore. We just go with the routine of like, saying hi and bye and it becomes mundane and I think, women can relate to this that they end up finding that the relationship becomes stale because there's no excitement because the partner's not doing what they may have used to been doing when they first met him. They were doing all this like whining and dining the woman and then all of a sudden it's stale because they got married. Like I would say again, going back to both sexes, is that you go and look at the goals. Set the goal for that partner that you want. And when we talk about love, again, love is sacrifice. It's not just the word that makes you feel all gooey inside and warm for the other person. It's sacrifice. Love takes sacrifice. You love yourself, go to the gym. That doesn't feel good, that pain, but you know what's great? You do it for a year, you eat right, you make the sacrifices, not eating out, meal prepping, you're going to find that your body is going to start feeling better. Your mind is going to feel better. But it all takes sacrifice. Love is sacrifice and love is action. You have to take action. If your partner is not taking the action for you or for themselves, it's probably not the right relationship at the end of the day. I hate
Mhm.
to say that, and I know it goes back to some people that have probably come to you as well, where it's like, what do I do about this person? Should I stay with them longer? And I'm sure a lot of our listeners have given countless advice to these people, and they keep doing the complete opposite. It's almost like they want to hear them to be encouraged to be in a bad relationship, but you keep giving the right advice. And here we are, we're also talking about the right advice. And unfortunately, I want to have hope for society and say, hey, you guys are actually going to cut ties with your partner the next day because they're going to change it, but you're probably going to still stay in that same relationship. And
Yeah.
I'm gonna have hope for those because I believe, and that's why we're doing this, is that we do have hope in humanity and the society around us that some of you, it will resonate and you'll be like, all right, I'm going to do this. I am going to take action on it because I love myself enough and I love my partner enough that we're either going to get on the same track or we're going to part ways.
You guys, I'm laughing because these are not the typical conversations that Captain Awesome and I.
And to add one more point, for those that, it may be easier when you're boyfriend and girlfriend, but when you like establish a family, I know that's way easier said than done. Like, okay, I'm going to break up with this person because my partner has, put on some comfort weight and they didn't want to do the gym anymore, but they were when I first got in the relationship. Now we have, one child or multiple children. Think about this too. You guys are setting an example. We have children that are walking camcorders that are absorbing everything that's around them. So your actions is your love indirectly.
Mm.
If you're picking up that cell phone and you're sitting on the couch and you're turning on the TV and you're finding whatever you like to watch, and that's what your children have to observe, your love is going to come down at the end of the day of sacrifice or comfort. And for me, love is very uncomfortable because there's a lot of sacrifice that comes from it.
Yeah,
So you got to ask yourself, is love comfort when you're asked to translate it into a definition, or is love action and sacrifice?
yeah, yeah. That is very key. That is very key, you guys. That is, if you're not willing to take action, don't hold anybody hostage. Like, don't hold people hostage. Like, that's just selfish. Like, if you know you're not willing to take the action, it's time to have that conversation. It really is time to have that conversation. And it may sting for a little bit, but in the long run, you have just done both of you all the biggest favor ever, right?
And I know
So,
there's that sunk cost fallacy. It's going to resonate with some of you. You've been in that relationship maybe 10 years, 5 years, and it's still doing the same thing. Next year is going to be the same thing, maybe 5 more years. Don't get in the trap of sunk fallacy because then you're going to repeat. Like, how much longer are you willing to do that? If you put 10 years into it, I know you're going to be like, man, but I put so much time with this partner. Well, then you and your partner, again, I'm not condoning that you guys break up. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying you and your partner need to have this talk. And for ladies out there, I already mentioned one word that us guys can't stand is maybe because it always means no anyways. Some of you may argue with me and say, well, I said, man, one of them was yes, but 99% of the time, maybe means no. The second thing, don't ever say to a guy, we need to talk. That's the worst thing. It's going to terrify him. Like, just say, hey, can we be on the same page? We talked about communication earlier, how do guys communicate? Make this as a we moment, not I feel like you're doing this. I feel like you're not doing that. You really want to break down the communication where a guy isn't going to talk? You start blaming? No, bring your partner in. That's why they're your partner.
mhm.
Have that communication that, hey, are we going to be on this page? Not wordplay, because I'm going to have to see it through action. And again, that's how I have a small knit group because I live in a great country of ours, but unfortunately, we have a lot of people that have taken for granted following through with what you say. Even from
Yeah,
something simple as I'll call you back and you don't. Like that's crazy.
yeah,
Someone can't even do that.
yeah. I think I have done that. I'm so sorry.
No, you're good. I'm not putting on, no. I'm using that small example
No, no,
because
no. I get it.
you're
I just
one of the
wanted to
few
clear the air.
people that called me back like 2 hours later. It's like, hey, I know I was going to call you back, and I'm sorry it took so long. You actually made the attempt. 2 hours later, I was like, wow, he actually called back. I can't tell you, like, these are little small things that some people have taken for granted. They're like, maybe it doesn't mean a lot to some of these listeners, but I'm telling you, you need to pay attention to actions of people. So you're not surprised later in life in your relationship, like, why are they not like emptying the dishwasher or like taking out the trash? Follow people's actions. See how committed they are to actions because there's a lot of comfort in America and there's a lot of discomfort as, Mr. Locker Room has seen for himself traveling the world that it's different. It's completely different. Here we have it so easy, and that's what's made us comfortable. Look at actions. Look at the people that are driven to take action. And you're going to find a small group, but it's a quality group. Forget about trying to get 1,000 followers and all that. It's really at the end of the day, the quality of relationships that you have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. That's great. I didn't know that that was so important to you. I got to remember that. It's like text back, call back, get
No,
back.
it's not the call, it's the follow through.
Right. No, I'm messing with you.
It's the left brain in me where I'm black and white. And I just believe that, if you tell someone something, you follow through with it.
Yeah.
If you say that you're going to get something done, the next day, and that's just been ingrained in me at an early age.
Hmm.
It's,
Hmm.
it's part of my work ethic as well.
Yeah. I'm prefacing this. Let me give a quick, really, really simple. Most of my friends are used to talking about things. That's why they're my friends.
Mhm.
Like my friendships span the course of uh 10 to 20 years of friendship, right? Or even some of the most recent friends that I talk with, at least 4 to 5 years we've been friends. So there's a depth of connectivity and intimacy that we have shared, primarily because I'm that guy that will ask those questions. I will be there if you're uncomfortable. I will meet you in your uncomfortableness and I will get in the boat with you and I will row with you, right? We're going to be together in this. If you're uncomfortable, I'm going to become uncomfortable too, right? So I don't, so to show them that I'm with you in this journey. New people that are watching this, right, or listening to this, they may not have had those environments, opportunities to experience what it's like to be exposed or to share something that no one has really talked about, even if it's just to say, I'm concerned about school or I fear this or that and the other. A lot of people don't have those conversations, specifically men. They don't have those conversations. And to see other men having that publicly, that's where the vulnerability is because um, it's giving them the unacknowledged permission to be vulnerable, to begin to have the conversations and to talk about feelings that maybe their friends would have laughed at, even if it's just joking. Their families don't talk about, it's like, we don't talk about, being scared, even if it's just a little bit, because we're a strong family. We don't talk about those things. So publicly displaying the emotions and sharing the emotions in confidence in jest and not like it's giving them permission to do the same in their peer groups to say, hey, I heard this talk, um and I want to know what your thoughts are. Sidebar to them actually saying, I really want to say this to you, but they said it so I can use them to relay the message. And so I know that those conversations happens because I see what comes into our DMs, right? So, and that's what happens is like, I cannot afford to answer all of the DMs because those are behind the scenes that nobody can see. They're not comments. People do that because they say, hey, I appreciate this. I'm dealing with this. I'm dealing with that. They do that in the DMs because it's like, it's behind. And I'm like, it's okay to be in front. So that's what I mean.
I mean, I think that long as the information that they're telling isn't compromising somebody else in their group, or the information they're saying is information that can be used against them,
yeah.
I, I don't see why it's not a problem. Now, if it's information that can be used against them, I get that. But I think those two components, those are only limiting factors that I can think of. There's no other reason why someone shouldn't be able to open up.
Well, and then also too, it's them making other people aware of something that they probably were not aware of and not knowing how that's going to go is the fear of rejection.
Mm.
And that's a lot, that's most of it when it comes down to what stops a lot of people that talk to me about stuff and share stuff. It's the fear of not knowing the outcome of what is going to happen with the other person, how they're going to be perceived. Is it going to change something? Is it going to change? And I'm like, I can't help you with that. But if you want to talk about it, I can help you to at least get over not wanting to talk about it and being able to get used to talking about it. Because if you don't talk about it at all, that's more of a problem. You at
Oh
least
yeah, I mean
journal.
we're in a society that's very judgmental. So you have,
Yeah.
and then you have the comparison culture as well. So as what I learned from a pastor was, you want to ruin something special, compare it to something else.
Yeah.